Please take your seats. We start by setting a proper motivation, which consists of 3 parts, keeping in mind both what we visualize and how we visualize it. Start by visualizing the refuge field. Visualize all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, any enlightened beings you feel close to in relation to wisdom and compassion. Visualize them in the space in front of you, and how you visualize them, that they are looking directly into your eyes with immense love and compassion, just as a parent looks very lovingly at their only child. They are always there to support you, encourage you, take care of you. Visualize the bodhicitta field, starting with your 2 kind parents, your mother on the left and father on the right, all your near and dear ones, the neutral people, difficult beings, and all sentient beings, leaving none aside. And here, they're surrounding you, and you are looking at each one of them into their eyes with unconditional love, kindness, compassion. You are leading them in this practice. And what is the purpose of our practice? To manifest the seed of perfect happiness within us, the Tathagata Garbha, the Buddha nature, having gained conviction that yourself and all sentient beings have this seed of perfection, which is right now obscured by the 2 mental obscurations, afflictive obscurations and cognitive obscurations. The afflictions consisting of the contaminated karmas of body, speech and mind, afflictions including self-grasping ignorance, and the active seeds of the 2, and the cognitive obscurations, the smell-like latent seeds of these afflictive obscurations, which manifest in the form of self-centered attitude, and maybe through our study, reflection and meditation, inculcate the wisdom of emptiness with the force of unconditional bodhicitta, because this is a final antidote to remove these obscurations and become completely awakened for the benefit of all sentient beings. With this motivation, we start by reading the prayers from page 3. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Independent origination, there is no ceasing, no arising, no annihilation, no permanence, no coming, no going, no separateness, and no sameness. I prostrate to the consummate Buddha, the supreme among all teachers, the one who taught this peace, which is freed of elaborations. I prostrate to the mothers of the hearers, the Bodhisattvas and the Buddhas, who through the knowledge of all leads hearers seeking pacification to complete peace, who through the knowledge of paths causes those helping migrators to achieve the aims of the world, and who through the possession of omniscience helps subduers expound a variety of teachings. the one who has transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings, the teacher, Sugata, and protector, to you I make prostrations, the one who has eliminated the web of conceptualizations and is endowed with the divine bodies of the vast and the profound, eternally shines forth the forever noble light rays. To you, the Buddha, I make prostrations. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye Chodam Sukhi Chodam La Changjo Padu Dhame Kyapsuchi Dhage Jinso Gipe Sopnam Ki Chola Pencher Sangye Trupasho. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetum tesham tathagato yavata tesham chayo nirodha evam vadi mahashamanaye Swaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetum tesham tathagato yavata tesham chayo nirodha evam vadi mahashamanaye swaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetum tesham tathagato yavata tesham chayo nirodha evam vadi mahashramanaye swaha. All phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata. The cessation of the causes as well is taught by the great seer. Profound, peaceful, elaboration-free, clear light and non-composite. Such is the nectar-like dharma I have discovered. Finding no one to fathom this teaching, in silence I will retire into the woods. Beyond utterance, thought, and expression is the perfection of wisdom, which is unborn, unceased, and has the nature of space. It is the object of apprehension of self-realized wisdom. To you, the mother of Buddhas of the three times, I pay obeisance. The Guru is the Buddha, the Guru is the Dharma, likewise the Guru is the Sangha. The Guru is the source of everything wholesome. I go for refuge in the Guru. By the sound of the vibrant drum of Dharma, please liberate all beings of miseries. I beseech you to kindly remain and give teachings until the end of the expanse of billions of aeons. The Buddha does not wash the negativities of beings, nor does he remove their miseries by his hands. His spiritual realizations are not transferred to them. It is by teaching the truth of suchness that beings are liberated. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom. If you are attached to this life, you are not a spiritual practitioner. If you are attached to samsara, you have no renunciation. If you are attached to your own self-interest, you have no bodhicitta. If there is grasping, you do not have the view. Page 14, praise to Shakyamuni Buddha. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O Supreme amongst humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who were wise then, I prostrate. With pure bodies, form supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like a spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust-free like you, the 3 worlds are not, incomparable wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you the Tathagata I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to the dharma that pacifies I prostrate. Those who are liberated and also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you the Sangha I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly, this is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all-seeing, subdue the 4 falls, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. Page 31, the Heart Sutra Mantra, the Perfection of Wisdom Mantra. Once again reinforce the visualization that Buddha Shakyamuni is calling you. Come, come, come away from the fears of samsara and establish yourself in perfect enlightenment. And also reinforce the visualization of all the sentient beings joining you in this journey. Tatha Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhi Swaha 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 Tatha Om Gate Gate Paragate, Parasangate Bodhi Swaha, Tayatha Om Gate Gate, Paragate, Parasangate Bodhi Swaha, Tayatha Om Gate Gate, Paragate, Parasangate Bodhi Swaha. Next page, page 32, 8 verses of mind training. And we can read these verses now in the light of the method of exchanging oneself for another that we have done for generating bodhicitta. With a determination to achieve the highest aim for the benefit of all sentient beings, which surpasses even the wish-fulfilling gem, may I hold them dear at all times. Whenever I interact with someone, may I view myself as the lowest amongst all, and from the very depths of my heart, respectfully hold others as superior. In all my deeds, may I probe into my mind, and as soon as mental and emotional afflictions arise, as they endanger myself and others, may I strongly confront them and avert them. When I see beings of unpleasant character, oppressed by strong negativity and suffering, may I hold them dear, for they are rare to find, as if I had discovered a jeweled treasure. When others out of jealousy treat me wrongly with abuse, slander and scorn, may I take upon myself the defeat and offer to others the victory. When someone whom I have helped or in whom I have placed great hopes mistreats me in extremely hurtful ways, may I regard him still as my precious teacher. In brief, may I offer benefit and joy to all my mothers, both directly and indirectly. May I quietly take upon myself all hurts and pains of my mothers. May all this remain undefiled by the stains of the 8 mundane concerns, and may I, recognizing all things as illusions, devoid of clinging, be released from bondage. From my 2 collections, vast as space that I have amassed, from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds wisdom is blinded by ignorance. Page 73, 3 principal aspects of the path. I bow down to the Venerable Lamas. As well as I'm able, I will explain the essence of all the teachings of the Conqueror, the path praised by the Conqueror's children, the entrance for those who desire liberation. Listen with a clear mind, you fortunate ones, who are not attached to the joys of cyclic existence. Strive to make good use of leisure and opportunity, and direct your minds to the path that pleases the Buddha. Without pure renunciation, an end to attraction for the pleasures of cyclic existence is unattainable. The craving for existence also binds beings. Thus, from the outset, seek renunciation. Reverse attraction to this life by reflecting on how leisure and opportunity are difficult to find, and how life is ephemeral and without span. Reverse attraction to future lives by repeatedly thinking of the infallibility of karma and its effects and the miseries of samsara. Contemplating thus, when for an instant you do not admire the splendors of cyclic existence and remain intent on liberation day and night, renunciation is born in you then. Renunciation, if not tempered by a pure mind of bodhicitta, however, does not bring forth the perfect bliss of unsurpassed enlightenment. Therefore, the wise ones generate the excellent mind of bodhicitta. Swept up in the current of the four powerful rivers, tied by strong bonds of karma so hard to undo, caught in the iron net of self-grasping, completely enveloped by the darkness of ignorance, born and reborn in boundless cyclic existence, ceaselessly tormented by the three miseries. Thinking of your mothers in this condition, generate the supreme mind of bodhicitta. Although you train in renunciation and the mind of bodhicitta, without wisdom that realizes the ultimate reality, you cannot cut the root of cyclic existence. Therefore, strive to understand dependent arising. One who sees the infallible cause and effect of all phenomena in samsara and nirvana, and destroys all focuses of apprehension, has entered the path which pleases the Buddha. Appearances are infallible dependent arising. Emptiness is the understanding that is free of assertions. As long as these two are seen as distinct, you have not yet realized the intent of the Buddha. When these two realizations are concurrent, where the mere sight of infallible dependent origination concurrently destroys all modes of grasping through definite discernment, at that time the analysis of the profound view is perfected. Furthermore, appearances refute the extreme of existence. Emptiness refutes the extreme of non-existence. When you understand that emptiness arises in the form of cause and effect, you are not captivated by the view of extremes. O my child, once you have thus realized the points of the three principal paths, seek solitude and cultivate strong determination, and quickly reach the final goal. Please turn to page 134. 37 Practices of a Bodhisattva by Gyaltse Thogme Sampo. This is a very experiential, almost like a practical manual for us for wisdom of emptiness and bodhicitta. Namo Lokeshwaraya. You see that all phenomena neither come nor go. Still you strive solely for the benefit of beings. Supreme Guru and Protector Avalokiteshvara, to you I continuously bow with body, speech and mind. The perfect Buddhas, the source of benefit and happiness, arise from practicing the genuine dharma, which in turn depends on knowing how to practice. So I'll explain the Bodhisattva practices. Now that you have obtained this precious human birth, the great boat so difficult to find. Self. We just pause. We'll continue reading. So page 134, we'll start with verse 1. Now that you have obtained this precious human body, the great port so difficult to find, in order to free yourself and others from the ocean of samsara, listening, reflecting and meditating with diligence day and night is the practice of the Bodhisattva. Passion towards friends churns like water. Hatred towards enemies burns like fire. Through the darkness of ignorance, one forgets what to adopt and what to reject. To abandon one's homeland is the practice of a Bodhisattva. Giving up inhospitable places, mental afflictions gradually decrease. With no distractions, virtuous activities naturally increase. When mind becomes clear, conviction in the Dharma is born. Therefore, seeking solitude is the practice of a Bodhisattva. Friends and relatives acquainted for long will separate. Possessions gained with exertion will be left behind. Consciousness, the guest, will leave the guest house of the body. To let go of this life is the practice of a bodhisattva. When due to friendship with someone, the three poisons increase, degrading the activities of listening, reflecting, and meditating, and destroys loving kindness and compassion. To give up such a friendship is the practice of a bodhisattva. When relying on someone, your negativities diminish, and your positive qualities grow like a waxing moon. To cherish such a spiritual friend more than your own body is the practice of a bodhisattva. Themselves captives in the prison of samsara, whom can the worldly gods protect? Therefore, to seek refuge in the three jewels, who do not betray you, is the practice of a bodhisattva. The suffering of the lower realms, so difficult to bear, is what the Buddha taught to be the fruit of negative actions. Therefore, even at the cost of your life, never to commit negative actions is the practice of a bodhisattva. Happiness in the three realms, like dew on a blade of grass, is subject to instantaneous fading away. To strive for the supreme state of liberation that never wavers is the practice of a bodhisattva. From beginningless time your mothers have cherished you. If they suffer now, what good is your own happiness? Therefore, in order to liberate an infinite number of sentient beings, cultivating bodhicitta is the practice of a bodhisattva. All suffering comes from yearning from your own happiness. The perfect Buddhas are born from the intention to benefit others. Therefore, to truly exchange your own happiness for the suffering of others is the practice of a bodhisattva. Even if someone driven by excessive desire steals all your wealth or incites someone else to steal it, to dedicate to this person your body, possession, and all your virtues of the three times is the practice of a bodhisattva. If someone cuts off your head even when you have not done the slightest wrong, through the power of compassion, to take his misdeeds upon yourself is the practice of a bodhisattva. Should someone slander you in a billion words, with a loving heart to proclaim his good qualities in return, is the practice of a bodhisattva. If in the middle of a crowd someone reveals your hidden faults and abuses you for them, to see him as a spiritual friend and to bow to him with respect is the practice of a bodhisattva. If someone whom you cherish as dearly as your own child takes you for an enemy, then like a mother whose child is sick, to love that person even more is the practice of a bodhisattva. Even when someone who is your equal or inferior, driven by arrogance, seeks to disparage you, to place him on the crown of your head with the same respect as you would accord your guru, is the practice of a bodhisattva. Though gripped by poverty and always scorned, though stricken by acute illness and possessed by evil spirits, to take upon yourself the negativities and suffering of every being, and never to get discouraged, is the practice of a bodhisattva. Though famous and prominent, someone to whom others bow, though you amass riches like that of the god of wealth, to see that worldly splendor has no essence, thus is to be without arrogance, is the practice of a bodhisattva. If you have not pacified the enemy of your own anger, combating outer opponents will only make them multiply. Therefore, with an army of loving kindness and compassion, to tame your own mind is the practice of a bodhisattva. Sensual pleasures are like salt water. The more you partake of them, the more your craving will increase. Therefore, when something arouses attachment, to abandon it immediately is the practice of a bodhisattva. All appearances are your own mind, and mind itself primordially transcends all mental fabrications. Knowing this and to remain free from apprehending the science of subject and object is the practice of a bodhisattva. When you encounter objects that please your mind, like rainbows in the summer season, though they seem beautiful, not to view them as real and to give up attachment to them is the practice of a bodhisattva. All suffering is like the death of your child in a dream. To take such delusive appearances as true, how exhausting. Therefore, whenever you encounter unpleasant circumstances, to see them as deceptions is the practice of a bodhisattva. If those who aspire to enlightenment willingly give up their bodies, what need is there to mention external objects? Therefore, with no hope of reward or benefit, to give with generosity is the practice of a bodhisattva. If lack of discipline prevents you from benefiting yourself, then your wish to benefit others is just a joke. Therefore, to observe discipline with no longing for worldly existence is the practice of a bodhisattva. For a bodhisattva who seeks a wealth of virtue, every perpetrator of harm is like a precious treasure. Therefore, without feeling irritation towards any, to cultivate patience is the practice of a bodhisattva. If Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas who strive for their benefit alone exert effort as if to extinguish a fire burning on their heads, to cultivate joyous effort, the wellspring of positive qualities, is the practice of a bodhisattva. Special insight, perfectly endowed with shamatha, completely conquers all afflictions. Knowing this and to cultivate meditative concentration that transcends the four formless states is the practice of a bodhisattva. The practice of the first five perfections without wisdom cannot achieve perfect enlightenment. Equipped with skillful means and cultivating the wisdom of non-conceptualizing the three spheres is the practice of a bodhisattva. If you do not analyze your own faults, you might put on a dharmic facade while behaving in a non-dharmic way. Therefore, to continuously analyze your faults and discard them is the practice of a bodhisattva. If compelled by your own afflictions, you speak of the faults of other bodhisattvas, you yourself will degenerate. Therefore, never citing the faults of those who have entered the Mahayana path is the practice of a bodhisattva. Desire for gain and services leads to mutual arguments, and activities of listening, reflecting, and meditating decline. To relinquish attachment to the households of friends, relatives, and donors is the practice of a bodhisattva. Harsh words disturb the minds of others and degenerate a bodhisattva's conduct. Therefore, to give up harsh and unpleasant speech towards others is the practice of a bodhisattva. Once you become accustomed to afflictions, they are hard to undermine with antidotes. Therefore, with the remedial weapons of mindfulness and introspection, to forcefully eliminate afflictions such as attachment, the moment they arise, is the practice of a bodhisattva. In brief, wherever you are, whatever you do, always examine the state of your mind. Continuously working for the welfare of others is the practice of a bodhisattva. To dedicate the merits thus accumulated through these efforts towards enlightenment, with the wisdom free of concepts of the three spheres, in order to eliminate the suffering of all infinite beings, is the practice of a bodhisattva. By relying on the words of genuine masters, I explain the meanings taught in the sutras, tantras, and treatises in the form of these 37 bodhisattva practices to benefit those who wish to train on the bodhisattva path. Because my intelligence is small and my studies few, I lack linguistic skills to please the scholars. Yet since they are based on sutras and the teachings of the genuine masters, I believe these practices of a bodhisattva are flawless. Nevertheless, since the vastness of bodhisattva conduct is difficult to fathom by someone like me with an inferior intellect, I pray to the genuine masters to consider with patience all my flaws such as contradictions, incoherence, and so on, by virtue of the merit gathered here, and by the power of conventional and ultimate bodhicitta. May all sentient beings become like the benefactor of the Lokiteshvara, who dwells neither in the extreme of samsara nor in that of solitary peace.
Okay, so last time we finished the equalizing and exchanging method to generate bodhicitta. Now we are doing the sevenfold cause and effect method. Okay, just to do a quick review, not really review as such, to recollect what we did earlier about the bodhicitta, for the bodhicitta practice. For the bodhicitta practice, the teaching on the bodhicitta, initially taught by the Buddha himself. Then in terms of the inheritors, the legacy holders of these two teachings, bodhicitta on the basis of the sevenfold cause effect method, and on the basis of the equalizing and exchanges of others, the two methods. The first one, the sevenfold cause effect method, which we are doing now. In fact, we did the second one first. Ideally speaking, this teaching was what the Buddha taught and then inherited, or in other words, was inherited by Arimathea, and then which in turn, then Arasanga in turn inherited from Arimathea. So this is how we got it. They got it on what we have now as a living tradition. 11th century, the Lama Selingpa, the great teacher Lama Selingpa from Indonesia. So there he was also referred to as the Acharya Dharmakirti, the great teacher Dharmakirti, but let us not mix up the two Acharya Dharmakirtis. One, the 7th century logician, incredibly great logician, 7th century AD from India, and this one, the Lama Selingpa, from whom we finally inherited the teaching on the bodhicitta. So from Lama Selingpa to Lama Atisha Bengali Shirikana, and then this is how we inherit it now. So this is a very important practice, and as rightly indicated by Bodhisattva Shantideva, that he gave the example of somebody who can't really expect to find a jewel or a treasure amidst a garbage. So if you find this from the garbage, a jewel, a treasure, and we will really cherish it so much because this is so precious. Likewise, it's very unusual to find a treasure in a garbage. So, but we never know. Once in a blue moon, we can find one by chance out of 1 billion attempts. So likewise, the bodhicitta, this practice of bodhicitta, this is described as the practice and the experience, described as a treasure which so precious, and yet for us, somebody who is very ordinary, somebody who is very hopeless and ordinary, and suddenly you come across this teaching, you practice it, and you start feeling it, and then it simply opens up your mind to feel such a flow of love and affection towards everyone. As you read right now from the 37 practices of Bodhisattvas, which the great Bodhisattva, the Geshe Thome Sampo, he composed. So there, your mind simply flows all pains, and you become stress-free. and what we today call as the burnout cases, you're just far away. You say distance, far away from the burnout cases. So this is so precious practice. And so the point is that after learning these, they see how much we can practice. Otherwise, to learn these methods is not that difficult. Only thing is that to experience that is difficult. Whereas for emptiness, to learn is difficult, to experience it is easy. Once you learned the emptiness quite extensively for a few years, then to experience emptiness, it says that is very quick. Whereas for bodhicitta, to study that, to learn about bodhicitta, will not take you long. If you study it very seriously, we can complete the whole discourse on bodhicitta, just how to practice it, and so forth, just within, like, say, 2 weeks is good enough. But experience, to gain the experience, to feel the experience, the great teacher said that it takes you like the years and years and years. But the thing is that you can experience it if you practice it. If you don't practice it, we can't expect that we attend some teachings, we attend some empowerments, and then you get the blessed water or blessed talk, so forth, and then you take it, then you experience bodhicitta. This is never the case. So for that matter, we have to practice it. Study it and practice it. Okay. So for example, say this is very important. For example, the author of this text, the 37 practices of Buddhist, the Bodhisattva, Gyaltse Tome Sampo. So when he was, say, there were several anecdotes of this great practitioner, this great teacher. When he was around like age 5, 6, what happened was that it was very cold. So Delhi now heat is picking up. Otherwise, it was very cold about like 20 days ago. So where he was born was in a very remote place, nomadic place, and where heavy snow, very terribly cold. And he was a very young boy, age 5 or 6, with his, especially there in Tibet, the clothes, they were, but the nomads, they were clothes more like the fur, animal fur. So he also had animal fur, the chuba meaning the dress, small chuba for him. And so when he went out to relieve himself, when he went out, coming back, the parents noticed that the chuba was not, he came naked. This young boy came naked. And the parents were, what happened to you? Where's your chuba? He was not saying anything. Where's your chuba? He didn't say. So they went out. The parents went out to see where they left the chuba. So finally they found that the chuba was put on a bush. And they slowly took off this chuba. And what they noticed was inside there, they noticed a very tiny spider there. So this young boy, what went through his mind was that I am such a huge person as compared to this tiny insect. And this tiny spider, he did not have any chuba. I have a chuba, still I feel cold. So this tiny insect must be feeling so cold. So he gave his chuba to the tiny insect. So this is the amount of love and affection, compassion that somebody displayed, that Gyaltse, the Venerable Gyaltse Tome Sampo, he demonstrated at such a young age. So this is something from there, is a clear indication that from the past life, he was habituated to this practice. Just as if you practice it, and then for the last, say 4, 5, 6, 10 years of practice, and eventually experience the bodhicitta, then you see that you experience it, and then say the next years. So even without intense practice, the feeling becomes spontaneous. So this spontaneity of the experience that you feel, or for sure, people who practice and who could feel that experience, who could feel how difficult it is to experience bodhicitta. So they are seeing his very spontaneous experience of bodhicitta, spontaneous display, demonstration, compassion. From there, they could easily figure out that he must have practiced, in past lives. So this is a very precious practice. And what I'd like to share with you is that in case if we also practice in this life, and one thing, no doubt, the first recipient of the benefit is yourself. Practice bodhicitta. In terms of immediate benefit, your mind becomes stress-free. One, long-term benefit, say all the good qualities mentioned of the longevity, good health, then the favorable birth, then the wealth and the position, the love from others, and then the glow and the elegance. All these good qualities, they're all attracted by bodhicitta. So, in terms of these qualities, you're going to receive all these benefits, and in terms of the immediate mental peace and happiness, you will feel it. So, this is something that we can actually, the first recipient of this practice is yourself, number one. Then, in terms of finally, to see that the joy that you get is something that we have never experienced before. This is something really a treasure. Treasure means what? Treasure is to give you joy. Is to give you the benefit. And as an outcome of that, the indication of this benefit is that you get joy. So this joy, the maximum incredible joy, more than finding a treasure, is finding this bodhicitta. So this is so precious. And for your own benefit, see if you can practice it on a daily basis after learning the steps. One. Then once you practice it, you start feeling this benefit. Then you don't need anybody to tell you, to reinforce you into this practice. This is going to be the self-operational. Self is going to be perpetuating a practice. So with this in mind, the sevenfold practice. This is relatively easier as compared to the second method, which we already discussed earlier, which we already learned. So this method, it has 7 steps and 1 preliminary step, total 8. So the first let us enumerate what the 7 steps are, the preliminary. Preliminary is to cultivate a sense of the equanimity between between the beings with whom you interact, the equanimity, the balance, practice of the balance. So what we tend to do is that we tend to have a feeling of bias. This is a natural tendency. So just see, and then, so these are intellectually, these are not really complicated, very easy not to have a biased attitude, to be equal towards everyone. That's very easy to say, but to practice it is a little difficult. And even for the practice, it is only if we attempt, then we'll find how difficult it is. One, and then in the process you will discover many nuances. Okay, so what I'm saying is that in your day-to-day practice, see if you can be as unbiased, as the balance in terms of your interaction with the people. So that is saying towards your near and dear ones, there's a tremendous affinity, affection there, and towards the neutral beings and towards the different people, just who cares? This kind of attitude, who cares attitude, that is very the unbalance or imbalance. We need to balance the two things well. The point is that the same, it is like for us to build a house, build a very good house, huge house. The land, if the land is very uneven, first we need to make the land even. Where there's what do you call it? The dent or a hole, then you fill that up. And where there's some land rising, land which is a little higher, like the hillock, you cut it, and where there is little down, you fill it up and make it even. So that is leveling where it is too hollow, you fill this up. Where it is too high, you cut it. So that is what we do. Excessive attachment towards near and dear ones, you just say excessive one. Excessive, you just see how to cut it. Excessive meaning, okay, excessive, this has, one call it the thing. Excessive here, I say so much love and affection. There's nothing wrong in it. Don't forget it. When I say excessive here, it means very selfish, grounded, the affection. Where you expect finally, oh, my son, my daughter, and the son and daughter starts being rebellious. Then if you should use such without any sense of gratitude, you shameless person, you this selfish person, then you start becoming so angry, which means that the early affection, although so intense, was all grounded on this selfishness. So this feeling, this selfish, special affinity, because this is mine, that is the indication of selfishness. Mine. Okay, so then you cut it down a little bit, and then those to whom you feel a little distance or say difficult, and who cares, if this is a kind of attitude to some people, see how to lift it up a little bit. So for that, how to do that? Again, is not that, one thing again I'm reiterating here is that oftentimes when we say, okay, we have to do good, for example, the parents, when they will tell the children that you have to study well, hey, now the exam is approaching, study well. And the child says, okay, and you're not study well. And if the child asks you, how to study well? Oftentimes the answer is study well. Okay, how to study well? No, study well. So this, you are instructing the person to study well, but not telling how to study well. This is most common, this happening as a most common phenomenon. When we read books, they say that we have to do good, we have to do virtuous. How virtuous? I feel so lazy. How to overcome this laziness? No, you have to being lazy is too bad, you have to be good. No, I know that, but how to overcome this? So this is where the same people, when they advise, this is not what's happening. They say be good, but not telling you how to be good. Right? So particularly when you are very precise with the difficulties, challenges, these are the challenges that I have. Right? So I automatically become so biased towards my brother or sister, so forth. I don't feel that much love and affection towards my neighbors, the difficult people, so forth. No. You should be, bias is so bad. You should be good. How good? No, you should be good. So this is not approach. What we are learning here, there's something so beautiful about the Buddha's teachings, where the rationality is there. Say rationality based, say the teachings. that we must ground on the rationality. That is so important. Then the conviction that you gain becomes unshakable. Okay, for that matter, say the first one, how to do that? How to balance the affinity towards these two beings, towards the near and dear ones, and towards the neutral beings, and towards the difficult people. Okay, for that matter, it is grounded on the concept of rebirth. Okay, so just to begin with, let's say that within this very lifetime, how many of you have this experience? Within the same lifetime, within this very lifetime, some of you may be in your 20s. Stenson, how old are you? 23, 24, 25, 25. When? Okay. So let's say 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, within your own lifespan, just tell me whether it is true that somebody who was so close to you at one point where you can't think of being separated even for a day, right? Somebody so close, like your brother, sister, your neighbor, or whatever, being so close. And then one time, after a few years, you become the deadliest of the enemies. Deadly, I wouldn't use those enemies. Deadliest of the difficult person, right? Do you have this such experience? Or I may not use the deadliest. I would say very difficult. Somebody who you really don't want to think about that person. Did it ever happen to you? Raise your hands. Not necessarily all the time, right? So one time so close, another time becomes so, the friction was so bad, and then again you make up, again become okay, right? Okay, did it happen to you? Raise your hands, including myself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, Manan, it didn't happen to you, which means you're very young. Sensala, it never happened. Wow, you're lucky. Amala, never happened. Wow. Nizala, happened. You raise your hands, yes. Okay, so which means that, oh, Ahmed?
Yeah, I raise my hand.
Yeah, you raise hands, yes. Which means that the young ones, they did not really have that experience. We never mind. Right? We will pray, we all will pray that it will never happen to you. Okay, so this is, at one time it did happen to me. Wow, it's amazing. So this is what is said in the text. In the text, that who, even in this life, the best of your friends, the closest of the person, can become the worst of your enemies. So this is what I said in the text. At one point 70 years ago, when it happened to me, right? What happened? It's so funny. So say that something goes wrong, then you meet, sometimes the other person twists the body. It's very funny. Wow, twist the body, right? It's so funny. Then I go, wow, this text is amazing. It's like what the text says. It's so like there's such a prophecy here. And living movie is amazing. That's right. So close, totally unreliable. It's not at all reliable, being so close. And then after maybe a few years, you become such separated, with so much of the sour, the relationship. This happens. Okay, so within one lifetime it happens, right? Then when you're separated by say 1 or 2 lifetimes, of course these things can happen. So the fact that simply because the fact that two of us we are not in good terms now does not mean that the first part of our life we were we were not friends. There's not a connotation. Even if we are not in good terms now, maybe we had the best of the friendship, the first part of our life. This is very possible. Okay, so with this in mind, what I'm saying is that the reincarnation, from that point of view, say the person who is so loving and caring towards you in this life, then in the former life, this life, how two of us become so close, me and my mother. How so close? Simply because she gave birth to me. So therefore she feels, perhaps she feels me as her property, my, baby, right? So she feels it. And then particularly if I'm more gentle, then she will love me more, right? But luckily when I was young, maybe age 1, 2, 3, some of the elders who saw me when I was young, they described that I used to be a very gentle person, gentle young boy, gentle, yeah. So I might not have created so much more on my mother, so my mother loves me more. Okay, so this simply because she gave birth to me, right? No. And why I started to love her so much is because she is the one who gave me the benefit. This is how the new development in this life. And of course, karmic connections, all these things are there, but in a very secular point of view. So even if somebody doesn't believe in rebirth, so we can still explain this, how I built a very strong love and affection towards my mother, and how my mother felt so much love towards me, simply because I was her child, one. Then number two, for me, simply because I received so much love and affection and benefit from her. So this is the simple reason. Now, in the former life, we never know. The relationship have been many times very sour, many times very good, and many times neutral. So there, thinking this line, okay, so I feel really pushed by the difficult person there, but I feel so much love and affection towards my mother or towards whoever you love. So that if I think why I feel repulsion towards this person, because this person is my, say, enemy. So then this person whoever to whom I love so much now, so this person also in the past lives many times was my enemies. So which means if I'm just like this person, I should also dislike this person. So there's no reason why I should be especially loving this person and not loving the enemies. So from that, and if I'm to really feel affinity to this, my mother, and this same person who I dislike in this life, many times in the former lives, the same person was my mother so many times. Which means that if I really have to love the mother of this life, why not I love the mother of the former life, the different person? So then I see that there's slowly a feeling of the balance when the two start to happen. This is so important. Okay, so I don't know whether I shared this with the course participants. Once on my nephew, niece, and niece, they were very young. They were very young age, I think, maybe age 6, 7, 8, and their friends also around age 6, 7, 8. Total like 3 or 4 of them came to me. My nephew, niece, and their friends came to me. Then they said, this is all what I learned, equanimity, right? Maintaining balance. Okay, so these young children, when I was young, I also expect somebody to give me money. So these young children, they must be expecting the same thing from me. So I gave many years ago, I gave like 100 rupees to my nephew and niece. 100 rupees. So they will expect that, okay, now their friends will get like 10 rupees. So I gave 100 rupees each to everyone. So when they receive 100 rupees, it's fine. When they see that their friends are also getting 100 rupees, they are not happy. They are not happy. Okay. And within the, again, the nephews and nieces, again, say the children of my brother and my sister, and the children of my cousins, right? When I give 500 rupees to my brother's sister's children, they are fine. When I give the same 500 rupees to the children of their cousins, they are unhappy, right? Okay, just see how you do it, how we do it. The point is that how much we can practically see, if you can practically do it, right? Equanimity. And the more precisely, say somebody who is your brother, sister, or your nephew, niece, whatever, is in a say good position, financially okay, and there's another person who's totally unrelated and who's financially so weak. So they say you may give, like, say, the 500 rupees or 1,000 rupees to your nephew, niece. You may give like 5,000 rupees. No, 1,000 to your nephew, niece, 5,000 to the needy person. It can be very possible. Why not? Why not? Right? So see if you can do that. See if you can do that. Whereas generally the tendency is what? Okay, your nephew, niece, they're already well off. You give 5,000 rupees, and the person who really deserves, who hardly has anything to eat. So there, okay, you give the 100 rupees, 500 rupees, your nephew needs 5,000 rupees, they already have. It's just waste. Okay, so what I'm saying is that just see from the point of view of the practice of bodhicitta. I'm not talking from the point of view of the conventional world. I'm talking from the point of view of the practice of bodhicitta. Find it for your own benefit to distress yourself completely, and the lasting benefit and so forth for that matter. See how much we can practice it. From that point of view, somebody who already has so much money, lakhs and lakhs, crores of rupees, there's no point in giving, say 10,000 rupees, 1 lakh rupees, no point, right? Unless the person is really in a dire need. Whereas somebody who really deserves, may not be blood related, may not have any, you may not be getting any benefit from that person. If the person really deserves, is in a dire situation, why not we support that person, right? Just see how much, just see if you can do that. If you can do that, it's amazing. If you can do that, but it doesn't mean that, say that, okay, even bodhicitta, again, it has to do with the financial, giving. So if you're not financially not strong, you cannot practice bodhicitta. This is not true. This is not true. You don't need, this is just an example that I'm giving. You don't, for the practice of Dharma, you don't need any money. It is not necessary that you should be rich. Some people get a very false impression. For example, with some people, okay, I don't know whether I should go to that extent, right? Okay, say some people meeting with some teachers, okay, let me make teachers. Some teachers, if you're very rich, you can get the audience. If you're not so rich, you never get the audience, right? So some people, they said, okay, even for Buddhism, you should be rich in order to get access to a teacher. Right? These comments are coming up. Okay, so what I'm saying is that this is not the case. Dharma practice is not whether you meet with somebody or not. In the first place, if you expect that meeting with somebody, then I get the Dharma, or then it becomes Dharma, that is your wrong understanding. One. Number two, on the part of the teacher, you meet somebody who has big wealth, and then does not keen to meet who who does not have, this is not a teacher. This is not a teacher. This is not a Dharma teacher for sure. Maybe mundane teacher, okay. But for sure, this is not the Bodhicitta Dharma teacher. Not at all. Okay, not at all a Buddhist Dharma teacher. And may have the label, but it's not. Okay, this is for sure. So the point is that for the Bodhicitta practice, for the wisdom of emptiness, see, it's not necessary that somebody should have wealth. Only when somebody has wealth, you can be a good Dharma practitioner. That's not true. You can be best of the Dharma practitioner like just Milarepa. Be the best of the Dharma practitioner without any wealth. And Jesus Milarepa, who can compete with him in terms of the practice? Who can compete? He realized Buddhahood within a single lifetime, the supreme of the attainment he achieved without any financial, say, the wealth. So what I'm saying is that if you do get this impression, this is wrong. So the person is wrong and you also have a wrong impression. So your job is to get the Dharma. Once you get the Dharma, it's not a matter of saying generosity of material resources. It is not generosity not only with material resources. Generosity, therefore, generosity of material resources, generosity of love and affection, generosity of protection, right? And generosity of dharma. So of the four, generosity of dharma is the most precious. Then the generosity of protecting life of others. Then the generosity of the love and affection, which is so precious. And then, only then comes the generosity of material resources. That is the, say, as compared to the other three, this is the secondary. So we can do, anybody can be involved with the remaining three practice of generosities. Okay. So the point is, this is just the example that I'm giving, that say how to build a sense of equanimity between those people to whom you feel so attached to and those people who you find as difficult people, right? Maintain a sense of balance. Okay, this is very important. Now another thing, okay, so meanwhile I may touch a little bit of the nuances also. Say, if there is a tendency, these skillfulness is required. For the Bodhisattvas, there are many unique qualities to be cultivated, one of which is skillfulness. Okay, let's say that that somebody is very intelligent, very smart, and then say if the person feels connected with you, feels loving towards you, then the person can have a tremendous potential to go into the practice of Dharma. Eventually, practice bodhicitta, practice wisdom and so forth. Whereas, if the person does not feel connection with you, then the person may dissociate from you, and then you, because that you are into Dharma, the person deliberately goes out of Dharma, goes away from Dharma. So, under such situation, you should be extremely careful. For example, say your nephew, niece, and the person is already well off. Your nephew, niece is so well off, financially, so well off, and there's another person who is very deserving. And if the situation is such that if the your nephew, niece, or your child feels that, okay, my mom, my dad, my uncle does not really love me so much. Look at how he or she treats other people, with the better than me. Okay, who cares? I don't really need him. I don't really need her. Then the person may dissociate. And then because you are the Dharma, the person will deliberately go away from Dharma. If this is a danger that you see, then for the sake of greater purpose, then to give the impression, right? The other person, if you feel other person may not be expecting anything from you, and then you may give like 2,000 rupees and the person is very happy, and then you may give all your say your child, your brother, sister, nephew, niece, whatever, say the already is well off, still you give like 5,000. The person feels okay, they feel the honor that okay, I'm her relative, so therefore okay. And other person also very happy, but other person not at all expecting anything from you, and the person is so happy, and your relative also very happy because you are doing dharma. So relatives also show interest to make you happy, show interest in dharma, and eventually who knows, this person may become extremely good in the dharma practice once connected, right? So these are the nuances that we really need to take care of. We require tremendous skillfulness. Okay. So for practice of bodhisattvas, one unique quality that is emphasized is the skillfulness. Skillfulness. Then number 2 is no expectation in return. What we do, you do it, finish. And then don't expect anything in return. Don't expect any benefit in return. Number 2. Number 3 is the courage. Bodhisattva's practice, courage, the audacity, daring to do something which others feel weak, daring to do those things. That's so important, the Bodhisattva's courage. Okay, so these 3 are the qualities which the Bodhisattvas must cultivate. Okay, so now with this, once you say a successful practice of the equanimity, building a balance between your perception, your inclination towards the near dear ones versus neutral beings versus the different people, when it becomes balanced, then you can proceed to your emphasis can be moved to the second. Otherwise, in terms of the actual practice, you can practice all the steps within one sitting. You can practice the equanimity preliminary. Equanimity is the preliminary. Then the remaining 7 steps, actually 7 steps, you can do in one go, in one sitting. You can do that. But in terms of the what? Emphasis. Say, first you may emphasize on the first part, and then slowly move to the second when you're successful with the first part. Okay. Now the next is the actual practice. Actual practice has 7 steps. Okay, 7 steps we're going to write them. 1 is remembering all beings as one's mothers. Remembering all beings as one's mothers. 1. Number 2 is remembering the kindness of remembering their kindness. Number 1, remembering all beings as one's mothers. Number 2 is remembering their kindness. Number 3 is repaying their kindness. Repaying their kindness. Number 4 is the cultivating the great love. Cultivating the great love. Okay. What's the technical term that we use? Did you remember? Okay. Okay. Cultivating the great love. Cultivating great love. Okay, say the cultivating great love or seeing beings in the light of great affection. Seeing beings in the light of great affection. Then the great compassion next. Great compassion. Next, altruism. And number 7, bodhicitta. Okay, number 1, remember all beings are one's mothers. Number 2, remembering their kindness. Number 3, repaying their kindness. Then number 4, seeing beings in the light of great affection. Then number 5, great compassion. Number 6, altruism. Number 6, altruism. altruism, altruism. Number 7, bodhicitta. Okay, it will be good for you if you can note them down in Tibetan also. Tibetan is very short. The first one is Marshe, remembering all things as one's mother. Marshe, M-A-R-S-H-A-Y, Marshe. Okay, why the Tibetan? The Tibetan is very convenient. It's very simple, very short. And one time I have an Indian friend, and he is amazing person. He learned all these steps, and he actually practices. One time, I came to know that his mother-in-law was hospitalized, and he was taking care of the mother-in-law. And I called him, and I asked him, "What are you doing?" He said that now I'm practicing Marshe. He said, "I'm practicing Marshe now." Okay, so first one is Marshe. Number 2 is Tinten. D-R-I-N, D-R-E-N. Tinten. D-R-I-N, D-R-E-N. Tinten. D-R-I-N, tin. Then the next word is ten. D-R-E-N. Tinten. Marshe, Tinten. Number 3 is repaying the kindness. Tinso. D-R-I-N-S-O. S-O. D-R-I-N-S-O. Tinso. Okay. Then the next one is Yi-Ong Chamba. Y-I-O-N-G. Yi-Ong. Y-I-O-N-G. Yi-Ong. Chamba. J-A-M-B-A. Yi-Ong Chamba. Next, Nyingje. N-Y-N. N as in Nepal. N-Y-I-N-G. N-Y-I-N-G. J-A-Y. Nyingje. Next, altruism. Laksam. L-H-A-K-S-A-M. Laksam. Then next, Simke. S-A-M-K-H-A-Y. K-H-A-Y. S-E-M-K-H-A-Y. Simke slash Changchupsem. J-A-N-G-C-H-U-B. Changchup. Sem. S-E-M. Changchupsem. Okay, what's first? Marshe. What's second? Tinten. Number 3? Tinso. Number 4? Yi-Ong Chamba. Number 5? Nyingje. Then Laksam. Then Simke or Changchupsem. Very good. Okay, that's easy, right? That's very quick, short, easy. Okay. Number 1. The verse number 1. Marshe. Remember all beings as one's mothers. Okay. This is just a little sharing. Finally, whether logical, illogical, say the emotional, not emotional, or happy, unhappy, someone who's cold, or cold-hearted, or warm-hearted. Finally, it depends on your own thinking, right? Your own thinking. It is not that, okay, I could not really feel it. No. Even the fact that if you don't feel that, if you don't feel the warm-heartedness towards others, right? But by following these steps, if you don't feel it, even that is because of dependent origination. Let us not forget this. Everything is dependent originated. Say, let's say, tell me, if I have, a very, what do you call it, flexible, the clay, wet clay. From this clay, say, I keep it there. Now tell me, this clay will become what? Become the Buddha statue or a devil statue or a house or a flower or what? This clay will become what? Huh? It depends on?
How we shape it.
It depends on what shape we give. You getting it? What shape we give. So it depends. It's not that, okay, this is the clay, it will become a devil's statue. This diamond will become a Buddha statue. There is no fix. Diamond can become the demon's statue. And the clay can become, if it gets in the hand of a right person, it will become a Buddha statue. So it's dependent on other factors. So likewise, our mind, whether mind is warm-hearted, whether mind is cold-hearted, or whether mind is compassionate, or whether mind is intelligent, or mind could feel, or our mind can be very smart, right? Okay. How many of you can say when you run to the most, when you dash? How many of you say if there's a line there, you dash? How many of you can just stop there, right there? Huh? How many can do that? Just you reach the line, suddenly the line comes up, and then you should be able to stop it. How many of you can do that? Huh? Yelzala? No? I see. Sense it? Why not? Why not? There's a line there. I said that whenever the line appears, you have to stop it. Why not? Huh?
As I was running.
You're in the full. You're running full, dashing full, and then the line. I can show the line anytime, right? The line comes, and then you stop there. You can't stop it. No. Why not? Huh?
And it falls.
Okay. If you stop, you fall, right? Okay, you can stop there and without falling, you couldn't do it. Okay, who can do that? Nobody can do that. Okay. This is known as the control. You're getting it? This is known as the control. Say, with what you speak. Right? When you speak. So some people, there's a Tibetan expression which says that if you really want to know, the secret of the other person, don't ask. If you ask, the person will deliberately hold it back. It's just keep listening, keep listening. Don't say anything, keep listening. The person will say, and then the person will become heated. When the person becomes heated, then the person will say everything. Right? So there's no control. You're getting it? For the Bodhisattvas, the practice of control is so important. How much to say, what not to say, what to do, what not to do, how much to do, all these things, you need a perfect skill in the control. You're getting it? Okay, this is so important. So important. Where some people, right, they help. After helping, they lose the control, and then they start controlling the other person. Because I help you, so therefore you have to surrender. Right? This is where expectation, all these things are happening. The lack of control and so forth. So whereas for the Bodhisattva's practice, the control is so important. The practice of control. Right? Okay. So the point is that little like digression. Now going back, remembering all beings as one's mothers, Okay, so why I'm saying that, why I said this was that, say, everything is dependent originated. Say that some of us, we may not feel this, the emotional surge, emotional upsurge of the emotions of love and affection and so forth when thinking about others. That is also because of dependent origination. And then, whereas for some people it's quite natural, and some people they say it can be like 10%, some people it can be like 20%, right? The intensity and the profundity, these two are different, right? In some cases they can be intensity, they may not be profound. Some may not be intensity, but they can be the profundity. Some kind of both, some may not have both. Whatever is the case, the point is, it's a matter of dependent origination. So knowing that everything is dependent originated, and finally, whether you should be moved with bodhicitta or not, nobody forces us. The point is, what do you want? Practice bodhicitta, not bodhicitta, that's up to the individual. What do you want finally? I want the maximum happiness. I want to get rid of all my fears. If this is who you are, then to get rid of all the fears, practice the wisdom of emptiness. And to acquire the maximum happiness, practice bodhicitta. There's no choice other than that. This is a point. For your own benefit, for your maximum happiness, practice bodhicitta. Now, some people will come with the question. There are two extremes. One say that, why should we have to practice bodhicitta? One, and so, no, with the practice of bodhicitta, you should have to practice this, because what you want maximum happiness. For that matter, you need to practice bodhicitta. Okay, so this person is happy, but there's another category of person who said that even the bodhicitta is grounded on selfishness, so that you will be happy, right? So look, these are two extremes. One said that, why should you practice bodhicitta? What benefit will I get? This is one person. Other person said that if it's a practice of bodhicitta is best for you, for your ultimate happiness. Then the other category of the person will say that this is also selfish, interest-based. Okay, in reality, initially, other cherishing and think the working for yourself, working for others, these two seem to be dichotomous initially. When you reach to a height of the practice, to a great extent of practice, these two become synonymous. The more you do for others, the more you benefit. The more you benefit for yourself, more you benefit others. These two become synonymous. It's a beautiful practice. Initially, these two seem to be very dichotomous. Later on, as you practice more, you will say, amazing, wow. Say, how we describe the mother to be selfless, selflessly giving everything to a child. Because the mother, when the mother sees that the child is suffering, the mother is in pain. When the mother is able to help the child, mother feels so happy. So this is what the other people describe as the selflessly working for the child, selflessly giving to the child. This is how the world describes that. So likewise, say, you get the maximum benefit by giving others the maximum. That is, if you reach to that level, when you reach to some degree of the practice. Initially, when you do something for others, the selfishness will hold you back. Holding you back, this is feeling of unease. Say, for example, there's a chocolate cake there, or no, cheesecake there. You're going towards that, someone holds you back. Are you happy or not happy? You're not happy. You're getting it? You are going to a place where you want, and then someone holds you back, you're not happy. Likewise, the moment you go to cherish others, the moment you go to help others, what happens is that the selfishness, our self-centered attitude will hold you back. You could feel it, physiologically you could feel it. You're getting it? Say, given 10 rupees is fine, right? Mind will flow. 100 rupees, you will think, okay. 1,000 rupees, no. 10,000 rupees, no way. Right? 10,000 rupees, no way. 1 lakh rupees, Are you crazy? Right, look, and look at the change. Look at the what is that? 10 rupees? What? Of course. 100 rupees? Okay. 1000 rupees? No. 10,000 rupees? 10,000 rupees? No way. 1 lakh rupees? Are you crazy? Right? Look, so this is how the selfishness, self-centered attitude holds you back. Whereas for the mother, towards the child, 1 lakh rupees for the child's medical expenses, 1 lakh rupees. Oh, of course, right? 10 lakh rupees if the mother has, of course, is of course. Why? Because nothing really holds you back. You're getting it? So now this is where nothing's holding you back, and then you're able to do something, then you feel so much of joy, happiness that nothing's holding you back. When you give 10 rupees, nothing's holding you back. That happiness, and when you give 1 lakh rupees and nothing's holding you back, that happiness, if you compare the two, the happiness that you get out of giving 1 lakh rupees is far more excelling than the happiness that you get out of giving 10 rupees. But whereas when you're a beginner, when you're amateur in a practice, right, giving 10 rupees, nothing's holding you back. Give 1 lakh rupees, are you crazy? Right? The mind, self-centered attitude becomes so aggressive. You're getting it? So this is where self-centered attitude is forbidding you from experiencing this incredibly vast expanse of the joy of giving 1 lakh rupees. You are not experiencing the joy. Why not? Self-centered attitude is stopping you from that experience. That experience is so precious. If the billionaires, if the millionaires, the billionaires, if they're able to get it, if they're able to get this feeling of the tremendous joy of giving this, where the self-centered attitude cannot control you, cannot stop you, cannot hold you back, they will be very happy to give it. Because they don't have that experience, not all, most of them, because they don't have that experience, they are afraid to give. Because the self-centered attitude is holding them back. Okay, so that kind of the happiness is something which we have never experienced. So now the point is that, see, even this kind of practice. So what stops you from having this massive, expansive joy, which we never experienced before? We have that potential. Why we cannot experience it? Because self-centered attitude, we get the opportunity to, give and so forth, but we're not doing it. Why? Something's holding you back. What is that? Self-centered attitude. So this self-centered attitude is so bad. This self-centered attitude holding you back, that is the factor dependent upon which we are not experiencing the maximum happiness. This is the factor dependent upon which we are not experiencing bodhicitta. So our job is to say no to the self-centered attitude. Say no to the self-centered attitude. Right? Okay, say, if I'm to be very picturesque, right? If I'm to be very picturesque, then if there's a tendency that somebody like your say a good neighbor, like you say, like my brother, there's a tendency who knows you from your childhood. And for the last 30 years, two of you were separated, no connection. And suddenly you met again. And then say you are in a situation where you need a little bit of money. Then my brother is in a position to help you with, like, say, 1 crore rupees. Okay. So in the process of your discussion, my brother is so happy to see you again after 30 years, and then come to know about your situation, but they're so happy to support you, like 50 lakhs or 1 crore rupees. Are you happy or not? Hey, are you happy or not? Seems like the Narendra Masters, the Jaluma calls, they're not in business. They are not into money interest, Okay. So the face-wise, there's no happiness. And you have to verbally say yes, happy. Right. Okay. So what I'm saying, if this is a situation, you are so excited, right? You are so excited, waiting for that. Wow, it's so lucky. And then suddenly you come to know that I said that I told my brother that, okay, be careful, right? Be careful. Okay, you also have to take care of your family, so forth. Okay, one leg is fine. Okay, then my brother's mind changed. Are you happy with me or not? You are very unhappy. Why? Because I interrupted the tremendous benefit which otherwise you're going to get it. You're getting it? I interrupted. Likewise, the incredible joy that we're getting, otherwise getting, if the self-centered attitude is not there, we're going to get incredible joy out of a selfless action that is interrupted because of the self-centered attitude. This self-centered attitude is so extremely vicious to stop you from experiencing this incredibly expansive joy otherwise, right? So that you're forbidden from experiencing that because of the self-centered attitude. If you think in these lines, it's amazing practice. Okay, so the point is that in everything dependent originated. The fact that we cannot feel that much of love and affection towards other people is also the dependent origination. It's not that you are intrinsically bad, you are intrinsically not kind. This is not the case. You also have this seed of kindness inside you. Only thing is that there are other factors which controlling you. What are those factors? Self-centered attitude. Just see how to minimize, how to mitigate the power of the self-centered attitude. Okay, this is what for we are doing all these things. So with this in mind, now we are going back to the 7 points, one preliminary and the 7 main points. What is the first one? Remember all beings as one's mothers, marche. Okay, marche. So there, the point is that it is not necessary that the first practice is to remember all beings as one's mothers. Buddha made it very clear that all beings have been your mothers, have been your brother, sister, teacher, and very caring, loving ones so many times in the past. So it is not confined to the mother. But why the mother is given here is because generally speaking, for like minimum 60-70% of the people, particularly when they were very young, they feel the closest to the mother. This is the reality. Whereas in your case, if you feel that you feel closer towards your father, think of your father. If you feel closer towards your brother, sister, anybody who is genuinely loving, caring towards you, just think of the all others. See, everyone has Buddha nature. Everyone has this Buddha nature. Same that when the opportunity is there, everybody displayed the same amount of love and affection towards you, as your mother, as father, as brother, sister, and so forth in the past lives. So, as the point is that whereas nowadays there are cases, particularly the same. This is the one difference that I noticed between the very educated families and the less educated families. This is the one difference that I see. Very educated, the children. I'm not talking about all. Generally speaking, the children of the very educated family, generally speaking, in terms of percentage, there's a greater percentage of the children as compared to the uneducated children, having friction with their parents. Whereas the children of the uneducated families, their friction with the parents is less. So this is something which is unfortunate. But Even that is dependent originated. It's not that the child is very selfish, the child is so bad, being so ungrateful, that the parents give you all the education that really made you the proper person, and then at the end, this is how you repay by being so unkind and being very ungrateful to your parents. No, this is not the point. The point is that there is also dependent originated. So finally, it's not that you should be grateful to your parents. This is not the point. The point is that who are you? Don't forget your main agenda of your life. What's the main agenda? If we forget this main agenda of life, then we just grab onto the trivialities. We forget the main goal. The main goal is to get rid of all our miseries and to acquire the maximum happiness. This is the goal. We forget this. Meanwhile, in between, then we start to be, because we think that I'm very educated. Now I go to with any other boys, girls. There, they consider me as educated. And then even the elders, I see that many elders, they're less educated than me. Okay, I'm more competent, particularly in business and so forth. Okay, so in the business area, there, if I go there, people will respect me, or people will take me as equal. But my parents go there, and who are you? You don't really know about these things, which means I'm better. So with a sense of the self-confidence, with a sense of, say, the self-sufficiency, then okay, now I don't really have to depend on my parents anymore. Psychologically, that is happening. And then when that happens, then you express, automatically it is being expressed physically and verbally. When you talk to your parents, talk with less respect. And the parents feel sad, because parents will still vividly see you when you were age 2, 3, 4, 5. When you were so vulnerable. In the parents' minds, day when you were born till today is just like one very short movie. It's so vivid in your mind from day one till today. You feel like 20s or 30s. You see it, so it's so like aeons. Right? Okay, those things which happened when I was 5 years old, 6 years old, long back ago, but in the eyes of your mother, your father, it was just a very short episode. Right? Episode. So the point is that the parents will feel so dejected. They feel so sad. But they love you so much. Because they love you so much, and they will not really express that you should be feeling grateful to us, right? They love you so much, so they will take it like this. So whereas when the uneducated ones, why they are the number is not as high as the educated children, that the lack of respect towards the parents, the number is less, is because that because they are not so educated. So parents, education-wise, both are less, parents and the children. But the parents, over many years, they have the experience. Children, they don't have the experience. So this the children sense that my parents are much better, more competent than us. So automatically, they will be still more respectful and more dependent and listening to the advice and so forth. Whereas the education-wise, the parents may have done just MA, BA, and the children may have finished PhD, right? So the children, I know more. They may not say this, but deep inside, they have this feeling. And then because of this education degree and so forth, naturally the child can go with other people who are recognized in the community, and the parents may not be able to go as in par with the children. So the automatic children, they feel that I'm very self-sufficient one, and then number two, I'm better off than my parents. And then when the parents say something, why you say? And then you deep inside you love your parents. You have the tremendous confidence in your parents. Parents love. You know the parents will not retaliate. So why are you doing this? I know this, right? I'm not a child. I know this. Actually, you are still totally inexperienced, right? Very inexperienced. Okay, so this is where we need to so think of this. The parents. So the point is that those who have the difficult relationship with the parents, so there it could be for two reasons. One could be the mistakes of the parents. One could be mistake of your own mistake too, right? Parents means parents who themselves had very difficult childhood. Parents who themselves had very difficult childhood. So when they grow old, when they have their own children, they really don't know how to take care of their children. So this is, and then the parents going through mental problems, mental illness, the depression, so forth. We can't really expect the parents to treat their children so well, right? When they themselves go through such difficult times, like depression, stress, anxiety, and so forth, mental illness, so forth. Okay, the chance is less. If this is the case, then it is not, don't force yourself to think of your meditate, but if bring your mother as an example, bring your father as an example, whatever is the problem, then you try to bring in somebody else who really shows you tremendous genuine love and affection towards you. Okay, this is what we need. And the Buddha made it very clear that everybody has been your mother, has been your father, and the brother, sister, teacher, and so forth in your past lives. This is what the Buddha very clearly mentioned. So you can use for any one of them. But for most of us, the second factor would be that if there's a little friction between the parents and the children, it's not because of the parents, and in some cases, the parents, because they love you so much, right? They overtalk. They're overprotective sometimes because they love you so much. They want the best for you, and because they are not that skilled. Because skillfulness is what? One of the most important skills bodhisattvas require, which is not easy. So therefore, your parents, I'm sure that your parents may not have reached bodhisattva level, right? So skillfulness may not be there. So there we should think more about the following steps. Step number 2, remembering the kindness. Then number 3, repaying the kindness. We have to think more on these areas. Then the first one automatically change. Okay, number 1. So number 1 is remember all beings as one's mother. So, okay, this is one. And then mother for me personally, whenever I travel, whether by bus, by trains, or by metro, by car, by aeroplane, whatever. So when I see particularly the mother, the parents, and the young children, their relationship, I just keep observing this, and was just seeing what is the chemistry inside, what is the mental state inside of the child, of the mother. Child, when this expression is displayed, what mental state is going there? Incredible sense of the reliance on the mother. And the mother, when this particular expression is words, the tone, beautiful tone, how the mother addresses the child, beautiful. So there, what is the psyche inside the mother's mind? What's the psyche? What is the nature of mind? The flow, tremendous flow of love. So just seeing that, and that for me is the best of the what I call it, the sights. Best of sights for me. That's the best part of me. If there's a hobby, I should say that's my hobby. Yeah, I like that so much. Okay, just observing that on that basis, then imagine what if I could feel this amount of love the mother feels towards the children, if I could feel that was all big, wow, it's so beautiful, right? It's so beautiful. And this mother married with this child, right? For sure in the past life, we're not sure that the same, again, the immediate past life, two of them were the mother and the child. No, not necessary. Maybe enemies. And this life, simply because of this relationship, there's a tremendous outpouring of love happening towards the child. This again, a dependent origination. Why not? I can also practice this. So from there, a deep conviction comes in us, and then just feel like practicing it. Okay, this is about the remember all beings as one's mothers. Now in this connection, the one very serious question is that then the remember all beings one's mothers, your mother of this life, okay, this life mother. Then the neutral beings also have been your mother so many times, and the difficult people also have been your mother so many times in the past. But how do we know that the past lives exist? How do we know that? This is a very serious question. How do we know that the rebirth is there? The past lives exist. Okay. This is a very serious question. I'd like to deal with this here briefly. Okay, there are two things. What I'd like to share with you here pertaining to the rebirth, concept of rebirth, there are two things. I say identifying, oh, this is a rebirth of this is a rebirth of that, and so forth. Because this child could remember the past life. Okay, many of these stories are there. This is my personal take. My personal take is that when there is such story, do you believe in this story? This question. So I personally would not reject it. No, I will accept it. Unless until I get the opportunity to encounter the same situation, I can design my own questions in ways that nobody can exploit the situation and they manipulate the situation. Only then I'll be very convinced, I'll be able to accept it. Otherwise, I will not reject, I will not accept. Right? Some people, no, this is just a story, they reject it outrightly. Some people, they easily believe in it. Right? This also these are extremes. My personal take is that until you're able to design your own questions, to make sure that the manipulation is ruled out, and still there's efficacy there in the child of narrating the past experiences and it coincided with the reality. Only if that happens, I'll be very happy to accept it. Otherwise, my take is don't reject it easily, don't accept it easily. Right? Okay. So the best book on this. Otherwise, there are a number of books about so in this year somebody remembered the past life, and these indications are there. So these anecdotes are there. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure. But in my own life, there are things, the interesting things happening. For example, when I was in Nigeria, many years ago, that was my first experience, not really meeting with somebody who remembers the past life, but meeting somebody with whom I had an interesting discussion. He was the policeman in Nigeria, and he was escorting me to the airport in his car. So he asked me, because that it was the road, the drive was about 1 hour. On the road, we can have a lot of things to discuss. So he asked me, tell me something about Buddhism. So I told him about Nirvana, Buddhahood, so forth. He did not show any interest. And finally, then if it is not really interested, why should he ask? To waste my time and energy. And then suddenly discussion somehow slipped into rebirth. The moment I said rebirth, he said he became so interested. He said, speak more on this, speak more. I said, why? Why are you interested in this? Then he said that this is something very interesting. Because Nigeria is predominantly a Muslim and Christians. And in the holy books, there's no mention of reincarnation. In the holy books, no way in the holy books, there's no mention of the reincarnation and rebirth concept. But we encounter so many cases of young children who would narrate some, the episodes, anecdotes, narrate about some places. They're talking about the past lives, and then when you try to say the correlate the two, what the child is narrating and the place what the child is describing, when you try to bring them together, cross-check, they are so accurate. There are so many such things happening. So we don't know what this phenomenon is, right? And nowhere in the text, holy books, you'll find the mention of this phenomenon. So this is something which is so interesting. This is what he said. So this is my personal experience, meeting with this gentleman from Nigerian policeman. And then the another thing was, what is that, Dr. Stevenson? Nizala. Dr. Stevenson. Okay, Dr. Stevenson, he did, many, long-term research on that. Very interesting research. Whole series of books are there.
He has identified 26 tribes which believe in reincarnation in Africa.
Say it again.
Sir Stevenson, in his book, has written that he has identified 36 tribes in Africa which culturally believe in the reincarnation.
I see. Interesting. Yeah. So these are things that we need to say we can take interest in these books, Dr. Stevenson's books, and so forth. But finally, logic and reasoning. For the logic and reasoning, the best book would be best book on this earth. On this earth, I don't know about the universe, but on this earth, the best book is Acharya Dharmakirti's book, Pramanavartika chapter 2, right? And Pramanavartika chapter 2, thus far, there's one translation, chapter 2 translation, along with the commentary, but the feedback that I got from some people is that the translation is not so accurate. Okay, the translation of root text plus the commentary. But I translated on how many years ago? Nizala? Huh? No. 16? No. Nizala all forgot it. 16, 14, 2 years gap. There's a gap of 2 years. I thought that she was going to be talking about the date, about the month. Variation 2 years. Huh? Look, now 14 is there, 16 is there, 15 is there. If you say 17, 18, then all complete. Okay, so I translated this, and we also did the teaching on this. Of course, it's not an easy text, but this is the best book to talk about reincarnation on the basis of logical reasonings, not based on stories and anecdotes. It's all logical reasoning. This is so powerful. Okay. And then it's a personal journey for me. It is my personal journey as well. Since I joined, after class 12, I joined the Institute of Buddhist Dialectics. And till class 12, I was thinking of becoming a physicist. Then class 12, I turned towards philosophy, Institute of Buddhist Dialectics. And then I think in the very first year, one American lady doctor, she gave a beautiful talk, lecture to the Institute of Buddhist Dialectics on the workings of the brain. And our teacher, the principal, institute principal, Venerable Geshe Lobsang Gyaltsab Rinpoche, so he assigned me to be the translator, to translate his talk to all the students there. And being the translator, I tried my best to make sure that I got the maximum out of what was said by the lady doctor. And she was talking about all these, the workings of the brain in great detail, which I did not hear in my school days, such a detail. I just learned about the basic structure of the brains, about neurons, axons, and dendrites, then the transmitter. Beyond this, no detail, the correlation between the brain and the mind. And this lady doctor, she gave a brilliant talk on this, and I was so fascinated. And coming back, so my thought was so actively moving unconsciously. And that night I did not really have sleep. Just wondering if this is how the brain works. Say you are seeing this beautiful red color because this is part of the brain. You're talking Tibetan, you're talking English, not Tibetan because this is part of the brain. And then you're feeling cold because this is part of the brain. And you become emotional because this is part of the brain. You have no emotion because this is part of the brain. Everything what this young boy was aware of, all these things were just ascribed on the basis of the workings of the brain. Then me, just about like 19 or 20 years old then, was, if this is how the brain works, where is the mind? This was the question. Whole Buddhism, Buddhist teachings are grounded on the belief that there's a mind which is different from the brain, and this mind will keep migrating from one life to the next, to the next, to the next. If there's no mind, then why do we have to practice Buddhism? This was a question that that hit me. It literally shook my faith. And then luckily, I was not in, the monastery, which is more ritual-based. I'm very lucky that I was in the monastery, which is based on the academic studies. Studying the logic, philosophy, and psychology. I was so lucky. I was so lucky. Then I told myself, okay, now, don't say that you're a Buddhist. Start with a clean slate. Start with a clean slate. Don't say that you're a Buddhist. Don't start from, I'm a Buddhist. Start from a clean slate where, okay, this is how the brain works. This is how the brain works. And still, whether or not there's a mind different from the brain. If there is, how? Right? How? Say explore. Start fresh. Then from there, I started my journey. It was an extremely, extremely precious journey for me. Okay, so this is a little bit about that thing. Now the point about the brain and mind. The brain and mind is that, and then of course, we have to study this, to know this concept so thoroughly. We have to study Brahmanavati chapter 2 so well. One. Not only study this, relate this to your own experience, own life experience. And life experiences will unfold not everything in one go. It's very strange. Even nowadays, just maybe after like 6 months, 7 months, suddenly a thought comes, some incident happens, a thought comes, then the one small, our tiny secret is unfolded. Wow, this is amazing. So this has happened. I wish that all this happened just in like 1 year, complete everything. That's not happening. It just happens once after like a few months, 1 year, 2 years. It's a journey. It's quite a long journey. It involves, say, meditation also. It involves meditation. With meditation, then you can see the mind more clearly. And with this, then they say, not only meditation, the analytical studies of the psychology and philosophy, and of course meditation. These all combined together makes your mind to be more flexible, to see how the mind works. So from there, slowly you can unfold things one after the other. And it may not happen everything in one go or within the span of 1 month, 1 year. It'll take time. So, but the point is that this is a very interesting journey and very important journey as well. If you really want to make the most of Pramana Vartika Chapter 2, then we have to study this first. Then number 2, that study emptiness concept, study bodhicitta, study how the mind works, various samadhis, study all these things, and then do your own practice. Practice single point meditation, emptiness meditation, bodhicitta practice, all combined together. Then you will get the flexibility to see, you will get access to see how the mind works more closely. Okay. So with this, the point is that it is a journey. It is not like just a short-term practice. It's a journey. And you can make it your personal journey, right? Along with whatever you're doing, your job, whatever. So this can be made as a part of your journey. You can continue to do that. Okay. So basically, the point is to say that reincarnation exists. Say that you should be convinced that there's something which migrates from one life to the other. So if you look at us, what we have, empirically speaking, so this word empirical meaning something which we can experience, something which is only within the domain of our belief. No, something which we can experience. You're getting it? Whereas if I talk about heaven, right, then it simply remains at the level of the belief. So whereas what we are talking about, I transmigrate. So I transmigrate. If I next life is going to be not a good life, it's terrible. So I must have a good life. Okay. So I is something which I'm experiencing it. Related to this, then fear, then joy, all these things happen. That is known as empirical experience. The joy that we experience, the happiness that we experience. Okay, when I'm in the heaven, then I will experience joy. These are all belief. You get it? It doesn't mean that these don't exist. But what I'm saying is that what you are afraid of, the feeling of joy that you are having now, these are empirical realities. So we have to, if there's something transmigrating, then because that you are concerned about what? Me. This me is empirical. I can experience this I can experience I don't want suffering. I want happiness. This reality is known as the empirical reality, which we can feel, which is like the center of the universe. Each one of us, we are at the center of the whole universe. Because for me, I'm the most important. For you, you are the most important. I want the maximum happiness. I want to get rid of my suffering. This is why I'm struggling all this. This is why everybody's struggling. So that is known as the empirical reality. So this self, I'm experiencing empirically. So we have to talk about the empirical realities. But the empirical reality, what we have is that I'm a boy, I'm a male because of the body. Male body, and that because I'm kind, I'm not kind, I'm educated, not educated because of the mind. So we see that what we have, what we can see of me is my body and my mind. And beyond this too, if I take away the body, then me being a male, me being a Tibetan, all these things constantly dissolve. If I take away the mind, the whole life disappears. So we see that I'm nothing but constituted of these two things. Just as a table is constituted of the top plank and the four legs, that's it. You remove the top leg, you remove the four legs. Table disappears. Table doesn't make any sense beyond these two things. So just put these together in a conglomeration, and then our mind sees as a table. That's it. Likewise, put the body and mind together, and the karma brings these two things together, and then our mind sees an I. That's it. That is I. So if there is an I which transmigrates from one life to the other, either it should be the body transmigrating or the mind transmigrating. And the body is so obvious. To say the body transmigrates from one life to the other is really crazy. Body, at time of death, we have to leave this body, right? We have to leave this body, cremate it, bury it, whatever. Something will happen to this body. This body for sure will not travel to the next life. If there's something that travels, then it should be the mind. Empirically speaking, what we have is the body and mind. And the body does not travel, it's the mind. If something is there, the next question is, how can we say that the mind travels? To say the mind travels, when you leave the body, part of the body is your brain. Brain is also left behind. When your body is burned, cremated, your brain is also cremated. So if the mind travels to the next life, then the mind for sure must be different from the brain. Then the question arises, how do we know that there's a mind which is different from the brain? So this is how we need to relate, how we need to track down the concepts of the phenomena of the concept of rebirth, and then on that basis how to explain the rebirth by going deeper into this phenomena, and then eventually we will touch this area to split between the brain and the mind. How do we know that there's a mind which is different from the brain? This becomes the crucial, seminal question, the most important question. How can we know that the mind and the brain? For that matter, first we need to know what is mind, what is brain. And then, how can we say that these two are different? Okay, this is so important. For that matter, the first, let us say that what is mind, what is brain? And many people, this including the scientists, neuroscientists, and even the philosophers, and even the many Buddhist scholars, and Buddhist, the department HODs I met from the various universities, not only in India, abroad also. The moment we speak of the mind, they're very pessimistic. Oh, mind is a very abstract phenomenon. We cannot really see we cannot really describe it. Nobody has seen this. Okay, so this is where we need to know. It's not that nobody has seen that. These people, they think that nobody has seen that, right? So what is mind? What is brain? We have to distinguish it. Okay, so for that matter, let's say, if I assign you to think, of, you being, when you were age 5, when you were age 2 in the mother's lap, if I ask you to think of yourself as 3 years old child, 3 years old girl, or 3 years old boy, and in the mother's lap, and you feel so happy, you just think of this, right? And then I assigned the neuroscientists to put you into the fMRI scan. They will check your brain. They'll check your brain. They can see your brain very clearly. Now it is very clear, the brain, right? And of course, the workings of the brain, it is still the neuroscientists, they are not so matured to that extent, but in identifying the brains, anatomy of the brain, they do, right? But how these neurons, they work, that is not fully understood still, and far away from fully. Okay, so the neuroscientists, they could see your brain so clearly. They can see your brain waves very clearly. They can see the synaptic connections of the various neurons very clearly. They can see the movements of the transmitters from one part of one neuron to the next neuron. They can see things very clearly, and the brain waves very clearly. They can see. They can measure brain waves so clear. If I ask them, what is this girl thinking of now? What is this boy thinking of now? They have no clue. They have no clue. Keep in mind that nowadays the neuroscientists, they're making the dictionary of the brain. A dictionary of the brain means, say if I get a word, if I say the word, let's say let's say the pertinent or impertinent. Say that I don't know this meaning, but I saw this word impertinent. What will I do? How can I know the meaning? Refer to a dictionary, you're getting it? So I've seen the word, but I don't know what it means. So I have to go to the dictionary. You're getting it? So because the neuroscientists, they can see the brain waves, but they don't know what this brain wave is. So they create the dictionary. Right? How they create the dictionary is very interesting. They put in the brainwaves, they scan machine, and then while you're in the machine, they will show you some, say, very disturbing movies. While in the machine, somehow they will design in such a way that you watch the movie, very disturbing movie, and then meanwhile they are checking your brain waves, right? Because that you are watching the movie, very scary, disturbing movie, your emotions, mentally you are involved, and biologically, neurologically, the neuroscientist is seeing what is happening on your brain. That the neuroscientist is seeing, okay, this part of the brain is activated, so now this synaptic connection is becoming fired, neurons are fired at this part of the brain, more active here. This is what they are seeing. So what are you watching? What thought process going in you? Very scary, feeling very scared and very disturbed. This is what's going in your mind. Brain, he is seeing that. He or she is seeing on the computer, right? Okay. Now this part of the brain is activated, which means this part of the brain is for the feeling of fear, feeling of disturbance. This part of the brain activated, and it can be very precise. Then this is for the fear and disturbance. And then when you become very nostalgic, very nostalgic movie. Okay, this part of the brain is activated. So this is for the nostalgia. This is how they create the dictionary. So later on, if they see that this part of the brain is fired, okay, now you're more into nostalgia, you're more into fear, you're more into depression, right? This is how they learn. It's not that they are seeing what you're thinking. So now the point is that who knows what you're thinking? You are the one who knows. You are the one who knows what you're thinking. You agree with me or not? Right? Is that your fabrication or your actual thinking? Actually thinking. Actually you're thinking, right? This is the actual thought that is going within you. And that thought process, which you have the bad experience, on that basis, happiness, miseries, tension, depression, the need of medical assistance, all these things make sense on that level, which you experience that I I'm thinking of myself as 2 years old girl, 2 years old boy in a mother's lap, right? So this is what I'm thinking. No one, okay, forget about Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, forget about this, right? We talk about the secular, from the secular point of view. Nobody can speak better than you pertaining to what you are thinking. You are the best person to describe what you are thinking. You're getting it? Emotions, cognitive factor, the feelings, all these things you can, it's a matter of how you can articulate it, but you can describe it in the best way. Okay, now your brain. Who sees the brain? Your brain. Are you seeing the brain? While you're in the scan, are you seeing the brain? You're not seeing the brain. Who's seeing your brain? The neuroscientist is seeing the brain. The neuroscientist is seeing your brain. Okay, neuroscientists cannot see what you're thinking, but neuroscience can see your brain. That thing which the neuroscience can see so well through the computer and through the machine, which you cannot see, that's your brain. Which you have the experience, the first-hand experience, which neuroscience cannot see through the brain, that's your mind. You're getting it? This distinction is so important. This distinction is so important. On that basis, the next thing is, I remember many years ago, maybe like 10 or 12 years ago, His Holiness the Dalai Lama in his public teaching in Dharamsala, I remember he mentioned something about this one. This is a part of the reasoning given in Acharya Dharmakrit, this text. What we have is the body and the mind. And the body is made of cells. And the cells are made of they don't want to go into the nucleus, mitochondria, cytoplasm, and so forth. And they in turn are made of molecules. Tibet house people, they want to jump to atoms. After this, I may not ask question. Okay, go into the molecules. Then molecules are made of atoms. Atoms are made of electrons, protons. Okay, let's stay there. So for the physical body, when somebody dies, a person dies, the body of the person will disintegrate, will decay, will disintegrate. But the basic building blocks of the body, electrons, protons, neutrons, they will not disintegrate. At the most, they can change into the energy, and energy can be changed back to the matter. So the matter and energy, these two are, the mass and the energy, these two are interchangeable. Otherwise, they will never annihilate. For example, when a person dies, the body is cremated, then it becomes ashes, right? And the person's body disappears. It is the basic constituents, part of them when in the form of vapor, in the form of smoke, and part of them remain as ash. Okay. So then these ashes you put in the ground, then the plants will take them as the nutrients. And the plants will be eaten by the animals. And some unfortunate animals, they will go into KFC. And then some unfortunate people will eat them. Right? So the point is that this is how the cycle happens. And then your body, once belongs to you, becomes a part of the animal body, part of the plants. And the plants are eaten by the human beings or the animals. And they become the part of the animal body or the human body. Again they die. So this is a cycle. But the basic constituencies of my body, this body, will never disappear. So this is the law of conservation of momentum. Conservation of mass and energy. Right? Law of conservation of mass and energy. If this is how the external body, it never annihilates completely. Likewise, the mind will never annihilate. Will never annihilate. This is key, right? Will never annihilate. So even at the time of death, the body dies and changes into the nutrients of other plants, animals. The mind will take its own course. So the mind will connect to the next. It will never annihilate. It will continue. It connects to by studying the mechanism of the karma. It will connect to the next body. That becomes your next life, right? And of course, more detailed explanations are required through the study of Brahmanavartika. Okay. So this is, yes.
When you finish,
No. Fine. Mike?
so we should
Mike.
So when we talk of body and mind, that I understand, but the brain is also a part
Of the
of the body.
body, yes.
And then when the brain is dead with the body, does the mind not emanate from the brain? Because if our brain is dead, where does the mind come from? The
Okay.
thinking and the perception, the mind comes through the brain. That's what I think.
Okay. So therefore, this is a very important question. The relationship in the brain and the mind. If there's a separate entity as the mind, why do we need the brain? If we have the brain, why do we need the mind? This question. So the brain and the mind, these two are like, this require more detailed studies. For example, like say the hardware, computer, it has the hardware as well as the software, right? And what operates is the software, but without the hardware, the software will not operate. The same software that we have, if you use this in the 30 years old computer, it will not work. So there must be compatible hardware for the sophisticated software. So software is like how the mind works, and how the brain works is like the hardware. So both are required. And when the brain dies, or when the brain becomes inactive, then it can affect the mind. One example that I'd like to give you is that when the brain dies, how it affects the mind. For example, say if there is somebody who is contortionist meaning the gymnast with a very flexible body, and the person has that skill to demonstrate such a refined the gymnastics. And then if you say put the person in a spacesuit, very bulky spacesuit, person cannot display that skill, cannot perform that skill while being in the very bulky spacesuit. So the bulky spacesuit forbids the person from demonstrating that refined skill. But it doesn't mean that the person inside does not have the skill now. The skill is gone. That's not true. Skill is still there, but the skill cannot be displayed because the person is bound in this body of the spacesuit. So with the brain, when the damage happens to the brain, when the brain becomes inactive, then the mind cannot really activate. Cannot activate. And when the brain becomes fixed, again the mind will activate in the same way.
Thank you.
This requires more studies. This is a very important question. Yes, Badriji, Mike.
Ishila, I wanted to ask about the principle of entropy, which the scientific world believes in, that everything goes from high energy towards low energy and from order to chaos. So does the Buddhist philosophy acknowledge this? Because it seems like the entire path is designed to reverse entropy, that we are actually raising ourselves from the gross to the more subtle.
Okay, this is again a very good point. which I was also thinking quite a lot about entropy. Entropy meaning the tendency for things to turn from the order to a less orderly. Entropy. Say that this is interesting. So before we actually ask this question, it is very important to look at the world, look at the universe, look at the Milky Way galaxy, look at the world, the Big Bang, and then from there, say like the 0.3 million years ago, human beings first came into being. The sophistication of the brain was not there, right? The primitive, the brain was there. And then 0.3 million years ago, then slowly the brain becomes more sophisticated from the disorderly, from the chaotic state. It becomes more sophisticated, more orderly. And how the body works is amazing. How the human body works is amazing. Where, say for example, if there's a cut, then the blood comes out. And if the blood continuously come out, we'll die. So we should not die. So there's a mechanism inside, the blood clot. Amazing, right? And then oftentimes when say one part of the brain, when one part of the brain is damaged, other parts of the brain will take over the task of the brain, damaged brain. It's amazing. So sophisticated. So Big Bang, at the first the organism, right? The unicellular organism came into being. That sophistication is far away from that, right? From this very simple chaotic state to such an orderly, sophisticated, how it became. Does it follow entropy or is it the reverse entropy? Right? If you think like this, there's a reverse entropy happening. How the things have become so orderly, and see how even this world, this tiny planet, how this planet works. It's amazing, right? Same. Same. In the winter is fine. We have snow, right? In most places, there's snow, rain. Then in the summer, it becomes so dry, we need water. Without water, we cannot survive. No mind, right? So the earlier, like for sure, the Big Bang, just immediately after Big Bang, this whole planet was very hot. No orderly. From there, it cooled down, became so orderly, right? Say the whole water was so abundant in the ocean. From there, the water is carried to the tip of the mountain through the condensation and through the what? Condensation? Through? Evaporation, condensation, and not only evaporation. Evaporation should happen on the what? On the ocean. No, it is going to the tip of the mountain, Mount Everest. It's carried there. Then from there, it is released in the form of, not in the form of water. In the form of water, again, it washes away directly in the form of snow, so that it can remain there longer. And from there, it is given out in the form of water gradually. So whole year you can have water. It's amazing. And those people who are next to the river, they're lucky to get the water. But those people who are far away from the river, they cannot get water. Never mind. They send the water down to the earth also. Some flow on the surface, which you can take water directly. Some on the deep down, the earth is spread everywhere. Then you drill, you get the water there, you can pump. Right, is there, and the water becomes dirty, they will go down. Never mind, again, the purification happens with the evaporation, and again, it will come back. It's amazing. It's amazing, right? So, we see that there's such an orderly there. It's amazing orderly. So, this orderly, it came from the disorder to the order, or order to the entropy? This is the question. So if we think very seriously, while the theory of entropy theory is there, right? Say if there's a jigsaw puzzle in a proper order, then you try to move it this, move that way. It becomes more and more disorderly. This is the reality. At the same time, there's another phenomenon. We should not look at things from only one angle. Look at from a very holistic angle. There are so many things which are from chaos. It became very orderly, very sophisticated. So these were the thing. Now the thing is that if the tendency is the entropy, then next question is, but we do see such the reverse state of entropy is also happening. So what is responsible for that? So there we see the best answer that we can give is the karma. This is the best answer. It's amazing where the whole land is very barren, and then some very evolved people come there, the whole land becomes so vibrant, right? And then the plants start to grow, water streams start to happen. And when these people disappear, right, then the plant also slowly die, it becomes desert. These things happen. This is amazing. So this is where the mind plays a role there, and particularly the energy of the mind. So what gives the order is the energy of the mind. So that is the reverse entropy is happening because of the karma. Karma should not be thought of in a very abstract idea, but in the form of the energy of the mind. We need energy. For example, say if things are very chaotic there, put it more organized. For that we need energy to organize things. So what is that energy? It's the karmic energy of the mind. Yes, Emma?
I have a question about the essence of the mind. So, when you talk about the mind, is the mind the same as with consciousness? If it is one, my next question is that, is this consciousness one or multiple?
Okay, so let us be extremely practical. Let us be extremely realistic. You're getting it? Let it be extremely realistic. Say, all these concepts are there. Oneness of the consciousness, the cosmic consciousness, all these are there. And I'm not rejecting any of these ideas. What I'm talking about is we should be very empirical. We should be empirical. Empirically speaking, say, when I suffer, only me suffer. You're getting it? Not the cosmic mind is suffering. Oh, what's happening? I'm suffering. Maybe Dorji is suffering now. No. When Dorji is suffering. Right? I'm very happy. Which means that for me, there's no cosmic mind, me, and Ahmed sharing. That's so empirical. I'm talking about empirical reality. Beyond the empirical, I'm not touching it. I don't want to touch it. Right? If somebody wants to talk about the non-empirical, then that's a different story. But what I'm talking about is the empirical, because I want happiness. I don't want suffering. Who's saying this? The mind is saying this. Which mind? Mind exclusively that is present in Dorji, that is talking. When Dorji suffers, right? Some people, practically speaking, many of the family members, particular parents, they advise the children, particularly the children when they are working for the community so much, right? They say, hey, okay, have some moderation. Okay, you are working for others, that's very good. When you become sick, who will take care of you? You're getting it? So the cosmic consciousness will not take care of you. Your consciousness will take care of you. You're getting it? So all these, what I'm talking about is be realistic, be empirical, stay empirical. And you can go beyond this. Beyond this meaning, you can talk about what is non-empirical, that's fine. That's up to the individual. It's not my business. But what I'm talking about here, what we are talking about here is on the basis of the basic principle that drives us into any kind of action that drives us into working, that drives us into meditation, that drives us into staying in group, staying in isolation. What is that drive? That is the drive that I want happiness, I don't want suffering. On that, start from there, we see that self, that mind is empirical mind. I can feel it. So we have to, if you are talking about what we discussion is about this mind, then we have to stay in the empirical. On the empirical, there is no cosmic consciousness. And then beyond this, I don't know. What I'm interested is the empirical mind.
One follow-up question, please.
Okay, here, Tejala first.
Geshe, in the preliminary practice where there's equanimity, and then we do the contemplation of remembering all beings as our mothers. So if the mind throws a question saying that, hey, now you just spend some time equalizing, and now you are again just focusing on, thinking of all the sentient beings as having been your near and dear ones. I mean, the whole practice makes perfect sense, but if the mind throws this kind of question, how can one tackle that?
Okay, so basically the thing is, it may not necessarily be the case that everybody has to go through this system. Equanimity first, and then the remaining 7 not necessary. For some people who are already very compassionate towards everyone, for them you can directly go in from the step 1, not necessarily through them. Whereas where I have literal seen, right? I've literal seen and how my mind also behaved. Same when I see that near and dear ones and the difficult people, naturally my mind tilts towards the near and dear ones. Right? For that, we have to balance it. Reasoning, balance it. Okay, so why my mind is so biased? Why? This is the main agenda here. In the preliminary, the main agenda is why my mind is so biased, right? Why my mind is so unhappy about this person. If I'm unhappy with this person, for what reason? Because this person is a difficult person. And even this person also, even your near and dear ones in this life, was also a very difficult person in the many lifetimes in the past. And why am I so, the special affinity to this, not so much to this? Because this person is so kind to me. If this is the reason, then the difficult person was also very kind to you in the former lifetimes. Right? Then you see that the imbalance way of thinking, that is stopped, and then your mind becomes more balanced. Once that happens, you can go into the first step. Whereas those people who are already compassionate towards, generally towards all human beings, animals alike, then you can go directly from the first step. Yeah. Okay, Badriji, maybe the last question.
I just wanted to follow up on the question which you explained very nicely about how karmic energy in some ways reverses entropy. Then I was wondering that doing prayers like the Four Immeasurables and the Bodhicitta prayers, would they have an effect towards that? I mean, is that what we are essentially doing?
100% yes. But to what extent is effective? It depends on the energy of the person. Energy of the person, right? Say that I can say that, okay, you can go to Stephen's College and get the admission there. Tell the principal that I set it, Dojidam to set it. And the principal of the Stephen's College will ask, who is Dojidam? Right? He's the director, who cares? Right? Whereas if it's the Prime Minister of India or the President of India said, oh, you go to Stephen's College and tell him that I sent you. You go there. Who told you that you should be admitted? Or the President of India. He told me, this is his letter. Oh, what an honor. Right? Yes, tomorrow come. So I said, and he said, it's the same word, but the other person has a tremendous power. Mind does not have that power. So that the who said the prayers, that person's power also makes the difference. And then who receives the benefit, karmic connection with that person also makes the difference. There are many factors involved. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Dedication prayer.
Please turn to page 278, additional dedication prayers. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantabhadra too realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way, that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by the victorious ones thus born of the three times, so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva's deeds. May the supreme Bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase forevermore. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all beings without exception into that enlightened state. I dedicate the merit thus gathered towards the realization of the deeds and the prayers of all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the three times, and to the upholding of the dharma of teaching and realization. May I, in all lives, through the force of this merit, never separate from the four wheels of the Mahayana vehicle, and accomplish all the stages of the path, renunciation, bodhicitta, perfect view, and the two stages. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge to the triple gem, confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious Buddhahood in my heart. The path of the union of emptiness and compassion is lucidly explained by the protector of both the Dharma and the beings of the snowland. You are the lotus holder, Tenzin Gyatso. We supplicate you that your wishes are fulfilled spontaneously. May the operations of evil thoughts and deeds, of the negative forces of humans and non-humans, who harbor malice through perverted prayers against the teachings of the Buddhas, be totally vanquished through the power of the truth of the three jewels. In all my lives, never separated from perfect Gurus, may I enjoy the magnificent Dharma. By completing the qualities of the stages and paths, may I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. Throughout my future lifetimes, may I always be guided by Arya Manjushri and be able to uphold the Dharma in general and the teachings on dependent origination in particular, even at the cost of my life.